All right, thanks for joining us today. Today you have the Chief and Bro here, and we have David Cobb, who is going to be the new beat writer for the Commercial Appeal covering the Grizzlies. He most recently worked for the Times Free Press based out of Knoxville, covering all of the UT Vol sports. And so, David, we're glad to have you on.
Hey, happy to be on, man. Small world, kind of being back in the same circle.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So kind of tell everyone listening kind of some of your background, where you're from, and kind of what areas you've worked in, who you've covered so far in your career.
Well, yeah, I'm from Memphis, and so Zach and I know each other from our days as rivals on the various homeschool basketball teams in the city. But we can say those stories for another day.
That's a
But
cutthroat
no,
league.
so yeah, I'm from Memphis, and Bartlett, if you want to get technical. But for the last 7 years or so, I've been on mostly on the eastern part of the state, in Chattanooga and in Knoxville, and have been covering Tennessee sports for the last couple of years for the Times Free Press, and but a chance to come home and cover the Grizzlies. I mean, it was too good to pass up. So, I've got an appreciation for what the Grizzlies bring to just kind of like the civic, kind of the civic enterprise that they are and what they mean for the city. And so I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, no, awesome. What do you think for you is going to be the most different from covering a college sports to now a professional sports?
Oh yeah, it's going to be so different. Well, for one thing, like the college sports, like the access that it grants you to interviews and to like watching practices and stuff is very limited. But with the NBA, I mean, the access is great. Like you have opportunities to talk with the players essentially every day, usually more than once a day. They let you in for a good portion of practice. You get to be there during shoot arounds and stuff. So you actually have a chance to develop relationships with the players, and so that's something I'm looking forward to is just kind of having that more open environment. And I mean, just the professional sense. In the professional sense, there's the collective bargaining agreement. There's a lot of sort of stuff with that I'll have to learn and sort of become an expert on that I haven't had to really be too much of an expert on in the college game. So there's going to be a lot of differences, but it's going to be a fun challenge, man. I'm stoked for it, no doubt.
So, what are you most looking forward to with kind of covering this team?
Man, these Grizzlies, man, like I feel like people are already kind of counting them out, but they're 5-2. I mean, and I'm not saying they're going to go and beat Golden State tomorrow night on the second night of a back-to-back, but I think that there's something to like about this team if they can keep Mike and Mark healthy, and that's a big if. But if they can do that, I mean, we could be talking about a playoff team here, and so. I think there's going to be more intrigue maybe with this team than maybe some people around the country want to give it credit for, because I think they've shown early on here that they're still a force to be reckoned with in a Deep West Conference.
Yeah, and I think you're kind of at least fortunate to join it at a very interesting time in the franchise. It's like a very pivotal moment. We were terrible last year. We got a high draft pick. We got an exciting young talent in Jaren Jackson, and then everyone, most of the people have been healthy so far. So that's kind of exciting for you to be jumping in at that point in time.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, Jaren Jackson Jr. just seems like one. He's a good player. People have asked me like, what do you think about Jaren Jackson Jr. And I can say, well, I can say definitively through 7 games that he is better than Hasheem Thabeet.
Which is good.
Clear cut.
Yeah, that is definitely good. No, I think he's shown a lot of promise. He finally knocked down a 3 the other night at Utah. And so it is. It's kind of they're at a crossroads in a sense because I mean, right now their 3 statistical leaders are all 30 years or above, with Mike, Mark, and Garrett Temple, who's 30 as well. So, it's going to be a fascinating few years for this front office to really navigate the expiring contracts of some of those guys and sort of chart the direction for the future. So. Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time to be coming onto the beat, and not to mention too, just being in Memphis right now in general, with everything that's going on with Penny. I mean, there's just such an excitement I feel like about the basketball scene. So it's going to be fun to be a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever covered basketball before, David? Did you cover Rick Barnes and the boys up there in Knoxville?
Yeah, people ask me like, what I'm gonna miss about covering Tennessee, and it's covering the men's basketball team because, I was kind of complaining earlier about the access in college isn't great. You don't get to know the players as well. Mainly speaking about football when I say that because the men's basketball team at Tennessee, they're a lot of fun to be around. You guys probably know, but like Admiral Schofield, Grant Williams, they've got these huge personalities. Like they're just really chill guys. Like Rick, like you can just strike up a casual conversation with him and look at your watch 30 minutes later and be like, okay, wow, because they're just very much down to earth and they've really got a good group. But man, it's a different game. Even though I've covered the college game, the professional game it's a totally different game, and so it's gonna be different. That'll be a learning curve too for me, but hopefully I can rely on some of my my vast basketball knowledge that I developed through a youth spent at the Bellevue Rec Center, hooping it up.
I think they run kind of the same motion offense that a lot of NBA franchises do over there at Bellevue. Really spread the floor, have a big guy banging down low.
Yeah, exactly. The thing I remember is Zach White flopping a lot.
Zach is perhaps one of the greatest charge takers I've ever seen. The guy can read a charge. I never seen anything like it.
That took one too many though this year.
Yeah.
Hey, we're getting older, man.
Yeah, anyone over like 25, I don't really suggest it. At least at the recreational level, it's not worth it.
I love it.
So you don't have to wait much longer for the Vols to roll back into town. Of course, they're going to play Memphis in December, so your boys will be back in town, and that'll be a big game for the city. So that's exciting. So were you a Grizz fan prior because you grew up here, or was it a situation where you were kind of on the east side of the state when they were sort of going through this Grizz renaissance and starting to get good?
Man, I grew up a Grizzlies fan,
okay.
And because when I was probably like 9, I think when they 9 or 10 when they first came to town, and obviously those early years were a real struggle, but I think I still got an old Stromile Swift bobblehead somewhere.
Wow, you're an OG.
Vintage.
Then. Yeah. You're allowed to cover the Grizzlies for sure. You got your cred now.
I was at the pyramid, and stuff, watching games as a kid, and I was there later on. This is way down the road, obviously, but in 2011, I was there in the Forum when Zach Randolph, clinched it in Game 6 against the Spurs, and so, it's obviously you have to detach yourself once you're covering the team for a newspaper. You're not supposed to be a cheerleader, and so but I do think that my sort of like history with being a fan of the team helps me understand kind of what people want to know, kind of what the franchise means to the city, and so I think that'll help me kind of just the fact that I followed them while I was growing up.
Yeah, no doubt. I imagine it will be difficult and challenging, but also fulfilling to cover it objectively in the news while having been a fan. But that'll be fun to have someone that can write from that introspective stance.
And I did that at Tennessee too. So I mean, it was kind of the same way. I grew up a Tennessee fan, and so I kind of had to take off my orange and kind of look at it objectively. And so in a sense, it's a little sad because like the Grizzlies were like the one thing I had left to be a fan of.
And now it's just work, man.
Now there's just like a part of my job now. So I don't. I've got to take my Grizzlies gear off, of course, and it's fun though. It's a fun challenge to do that, and to, I'm fortunate in that, these jobs don't just grow on trees, and so to be in this position, is something I take really, really seriously. Not to get too far into the hashtag respect the biz, side, but you know what I mean. So
sure. So I know you start the beat tomorrow, I believe. Have you had a chance to dive into this year's roster and sort of start organizing your thoughts on it and sort of how the team's looking so far? Or
yeah, man. How about Shelvin Mack? That's the one that probably I think is the biggest pleasant surprise. I would say because they got him for next to nothing, and he's really, I think, alleviated the pressure from Mike Conley having to feel like he's got to be Superman, in his first few games back on the floor. So yeah, I've been watching him, and I'll be watching him tonight, and And I'll be watching them tomorrow too on TV. And my first game will be on Wednesday when they host the Nuggets. But yeah, I've had a chance to watch them and kind of, just observe from afar. And they haven't played the toughest schedule so far, but I think they've looked pretty good overall.
Yeah, Sheldon Mack's been kind of a return to the Mac, dressed up as Jack Sparrow in the Halloween, which was awesome. Seems like a nice guy too, and would really love to see him get a kind of a 3 or 4 year deal, given his age. But he truly has been good. So that's a really good observation. So when can we look forward to your coverage at the Commercial Appeal?
Yeah, I'm gonna write something off the game tomorrow night. Obviously, I won't be at Golden State, unfortunately. I'm hoping to get out there for that game when they go back. I think it's in December. But my first story will be after the game against Golden State on Monday night. And then, I'll start being around the team then on presumably on Wednesday. They'll have a shoot around before the Nuggets game, and that'll probably be my first time at the forum around the team. And, from there on out, it's nose to the grindstone until, April and, potentially May. And obviously then you got the draft and everything. So, NBA is really very much a year-round thing when you factor in the draft and summer league and training camp and stuff. So it'll pretty much be go. And I'm looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, definitely. And at least in Memphis, basketball never sleeps. There's always something going on that, something to talk about.
Hell, we were watching Summer League this past summer.
Oh yeah, we're stars for basketball.
Yeah, man. Well, you got to when you got rookies like Javon Carter and Jaren Jackson Jr. You want to see what those guys can do. So
sure.
And like now, you get league pass or whatever, and it's not like it's that hard to find. So why not? If you want to consume it, you can, and a lot of people in Memphis do.
So kind of something that just popped in my mind with the hustle being so close. Do you have any interaction with them, or is it strictly just the Grizzlies?
Yeah, I'll probably try and keep an eye on them. I don't know that I'll write a ton about exactly what they're doing, but of course I'd love to go down there and do a feature on DJ Steffens. Because he's a guy that obviously people in Memphis have a lot of respect for and have been fans of for a long time. So I'll definitely keep an eye on them and probably maybe do some more big picture stuff, on them. But, I won't be writing about them on a daily or weekly basis necessarily. But, they're a part of the whole scene, no doubt, because, that's big for Memphis. They've got, their G League affiliate literally down the street. So that's definitely a part of the equation and part of the job description is to stay up on what they're doing.
Yeah, no, it's – the more basketball, the better for us here. And, got college ramping up soon this week. So everything's kind of falling into place. Got a good schedule with the Grizzlies. It's a good time to be here. That's for sure. So, David, where can people find you on Twitter? What's your handle so we can get you some more followers, get to that Memphis crowd now?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's David W. Cobb, and Cobb is COBB. And I've got one more Tennessee link to tweet out from this past week, and then it's all Grizzlies from then on. So, give me a follow there, and obviously, commercialappeal.com and whatnot from then on out. Commercial Appeal obviously has a mobile app as well, so that's probably the best way for most people to keep track of what's going on.
Yep. Well, you're definitely joining some really solid group of dudes over there. So we're really looking forward to reading your stuff, David. And thank you so much for your time.
David, no appreciate you coming on, man. Safe travels, buddy.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yep. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was David Cobb, the newest beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, covering the Grizzlies, and he starts his coverage this week. So he's a former born and raised Memphian, spent some time in East Tennessee. Now he's back in the fold, covering the big boys. So speaking of them, Chief, how about this past week? What did you see from some of our players? I know that it was week 3 this week. So I had a couple games. We're 7 games in at this point as of recording this podcast before we take on Phoenix tonight. Kind of who has stuck out to you so far as some good surprises or question marks?
Yeah, I mean, 5-2 is, a big surprise, I think. I don't know what I expected, but kind of after that initial start against the Pacers when I wasn't sure what the hell we were going to do offensively or how we were going to look, actually, we sort of settled in to where we belong, which is good defense and middling offense and creating offense from our defense and sort of letting the defense motivate ourselves. Like when we get a steal, when we get a turnover, that's to us like might as well be a highlight reel dunk. And the guys are acting that way too. So that's been good. Granted, as David did mention, that we haven't played the most difficult of schedules, but we got the Suns twice. We've had the Jazz on the road twice, those are good wins. Of course, one of them without Mitchell, who looks to be hurt again. Sadly, I think he had a more serious injury, so that's unfortunate because he's one of the better players in the NBA and certainly a good guy. But that's been surprising. As far as individual players, I've been beyond, I guess, the obvious of Mike and Mark, like looking healthy, looking fit, looking engaged, and sort of just happy to be on the court together, playing consistent minutes together. Garrett Temple has certainly been a revelation for us and something we've talked about. Man, he might be the best shooting guard that we've had, or best wing in this since like the grit and grind era, since like 2010. Like we're constantly on the hunt for this 3-point shooting wing, the 3-and-D wing, and really never were able to achieve it in a true form. And we had Courtney Lee's probably the closest, but Tayshaun Prince, more of a defensive guy. We had, Jeff Green, who, that's basically like Voldemort. You don't say his name. So I'm sorry for anyone. I just said Jeff Green. Hopefully that doesn't like summon him to Memphis.
He's wreaking havoc on Washington as we speak.
He is. Yeah. There's got to be some tracker on like, which city Jeff Green moves to, like more natural disasters start occurring. The economy just goes to shit. I don't know. It might be a thing, but someone might write that article someday. But Temple's been great, shooting great from three, just really smart. And Mike and Mark seem to really like playing with them, which for a person like Mark, who can be kind of, like emotional with respect to the roster and who he's playing with, seeing him out there happy and having fun is really a welcome sight. What about you? What do you like individual player wise?
Yeah, I think Temple has been the most excited because I didn't really get to watch too much in Sacramento. That definitely was not a team that was on television too much. So really just kind of knew him on paper. I've been super impressed with him from the open practice where he kind of took the mic, and even though it's his first year with the team, he was kind of leading the rookie dance along, making the guys get in there. You could tell he's like just a vocal, seems like a very charismatic guy that people will be drawn to. And obviously he's got experience in the league and he is very capable. He really seems to fit in with these guys and kind of, he knows his role, and he's like getting buckets too, which is something that, that's something that we have lacked in the past. He's our third leading scorer right behind Mike and Mark, which is what we have always struggled is who the heck is going to be the third. We have the two staples, but it's always up in the air who that third person is, and it's never been consistent. And that's even before Jackson, who he's averaging about 12 points a game, but he's only playing 22 minutes a game because of foul trouble. So I think offense is just easy for Jaren Jackson. Whenever he gets the ball, at least, like if it's in the paint, he's going to score. And even if he starts out on the perimeter facing the goal, we saw what he did to Rudy Gobert in Utah the other day.
Yeah, barbecue chicken him for sure.
Ooh, that was that I felt real good when he did that.
He's not even doing it with the three too, which was always he'll block shots and shoot threes, which begs the question: what the hell was Izzo doing? And something that was asked on our new podcast, Theater in College Hoops. It's a question that we don't know either. Izzo should be reprimanded. He should get retroactively fired for the way he used Jaren Jackson Jr. in college. Unreal bad. I mean, maybe he was foul trouble, but
was he like trying to stash him so he'd stay another year?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they alluded to. But I mean, he had a good team there. He had of course Mikal Bridges, who was sort of their go-to scorer, and a bunch of seniors. But I mean, it's still just inexcusable. In college, Jaren Jackson could have had like 25 points a game, like 10 rebounds.
Yeah, but really, thank you, Izzo, because he would have been the number 1 draft pick if he'd actually played in college. I really think that. Yeah,
if he'd have been like Ayton was on Arizona, the featured piece, they got to play all the minutes, then I think he would have had a similar season for sure.
Yeah, and I think to me, so I'm kind of getting used to what Kyle Anderson brings to the table, I guess is probably the way to put it. I was expecting him to be more of a scorer, which it's pretty clear that is definitely not what he's out there to do, not what he brings to the table. He's playing 24 minutes a game. He's drawn several starts ever since Chandler went out. And he still isn't even averaging 4 points a game, but he's getting almost 6 rebounds and multiple steals per game. So he really does have the, like you mentioned earlier, how a steal for us is almost like Steph Curry hitting back-to-back threes as far as momentum goes and getting everyone excited. Anderson has that ability and has done that several times. I think back to the Washington game when he had 4 steals in that one, and we are doing really well with our points off turnovers, and that's a big part of it. And so I think that he's really kind of fallen into that defensive, really long guy, and also able to get some assists too. So I just have mentally wrapped my mind around the fact that dude is not going to score, but if you have 4 other guys out there who can score, then that's still pretty good.
Yeah, Slow-Mo's a plus or minus darling. He's an advanced statistic genius and just sort of makes everyone better when he's on the court, intangibly so. Although I think we saw that stat out there about how when he and Mike and Mark are on the court, that's like apparently the best defensive lineup that we have, and we allow like 92, maybe or high 80s amounts of points per 100 possessions when Kyle Anderson and Mike and Mark share the court. When he's at power forward, apparently he gets his best minutes at power forward, which is kind of an interesting trend. Maybe something we'll see more going forward. Traditionally starts at the small forward spot, but he's really good there. And yeah, I mean, he's been great and certainly has fit into his role, it seems like. And along with Garrett Temple, just understands the game. And I think the guys really like playing with him.
Yeah, what I do want to see, and I kind of tweeted about this earlier, is I do want to see Marshawn get some consistent minutes and kind of see what he is able to do. I think he's still like a big question mark of he could really add to this team as far as getting buckets on the second unit. He just doesn't have the minutes. His per 36 stats, he's one of our highest scorers, but I would really like to see him, get some more minutes in there when available, especially when we have guys out for injuries.
We have a logjam, man. You got like Selbin, you got like, Mac has been good. There's a wing guard weird logjam that we have where we're not sure who's going to emerge and end up being those good bench guys. But yeah, Marshawn's like, obviously he's the classic example of a bucket getter. And he just really to me, there's got to be a reason he's not getting minutes. Of course, like it wouldn't be like JB would just maliciously keep him on the bench or, hatch some plan against him or something. But to me, it has to be defense. When I see him on the floor, he has his general attitude and just his look on his face always looks really disinterested. I think that's just like what he looks like. But he also kind of just doesn't really try on defense and really never had to. And that was never his thing in either college or his initial years in the NBA. It's certainly not China. You probably just stand there on the perimeter and you're playing defense on China, Like I don't know what that looks like, but
I don't know. I hadn't watched too much Chinese basketball.
No, used to, but really hadn't been. Yeah. So you can't have a guy on the court, no matter how many points that he may or may not score. When we hang our hats on the defensive end like that, you can't just put a guy out there. It's just gonna make everyone else have to, because we're team defense. We don't have just some stopper. We have a very cohesive structure that relies on everyone switching, everyone talking to each other, and then if one person gambles, and the other person coming to cover the weak side. But he just doesn't seem to either want to do that or doesn't do that. But I think that's why he's not getting minutes. So I don't know if I'd want him on the court if he's not going to play defense. I don't know if I see him enough to know that he won't, but that's got to be what's going on, right?
Yeah, and I guess if you're completely screwing up all the main plan, the main thing that we hold our hat on, then you're kind of going against the grain of what. You're doing more harm than good, I guess. It'd
be like Golden State bringing Tony Allen off the bench or something.
That's good.
They jack threes and they score and they're fast, and then their bench unit comes in, they bring in this defensive stopper who can't shoot, and it's like, and then they're like, why are you not doing? It just it doesn't fit the scheme or the tone or sort of the whole the whole team. So I don't know. I don't know if that's exactly on point, but I don't know. There's got to be something going on. we're just a couple of guys talking about the NBA from our living rooms, but so we're not necessarily in the locker room. But that would be my guess if I made $1 million bet.
We'll have to have David Cobb find out the skinny on that.
Yeah, we need David to go in there and figure that out for sure. That'll be
can we assign assignments? Is that how that works?
I think so. I mean, he's been on the show, so like what I'm hearing now is we're the commercial appeal, basically. and we, we're
sure they appreciate that.
We're Gannett or whatever. Yeah, and so we'll sort of structure the commercial appeals we see fit going forward.
Okay, so earlier this week, the Grizzlies released Andrew Harrison. So we have a free roster spot. What would you like to see in that roster spot? What kind of player, or do you have someone in particular that you would like to see there? What are your thoughts surrounding that?
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting move doing it so soon, unless they had someone in mind. But it doesn't seem like they do. So I don't really know what the timing was there.
I think it had to do something more with the financials, from what I've heard.
Okay.
Like what was guaranteed on his contract and some timelines, something like that.
I thought I thought there was still like months before he was guaranteed that or something. But regardless, if as far as that roster spot, I guess if there's anyone out there that we definitely need rebounding, and that would be just sort of a big man. And I would certainly like to see someone younger in that spot, maybe someone that we could develop and maybe get better, just that may have gotten cut from a team. Maybe like, I guess the equivalent of like a Wade Baldwin, someone with potential that just got cut from his team because he just didn't fit in the system. And just like how Wade Baldwin got picked up by Portland. I'm not saying he's, doing well, but someone like that, like otherwise there's been a lot of talk of Zebo and, I don't know, like you give your Zebo take. I think the world needs to hear it.
So I was expecting a lot more backlash online than what I actually received. But so with Zebo, we talk a lot about how our team has really developed into kind of a Swiss Army knife, I guess, where multiple players can score. We have a very structured strategy on offense as far as timing of possession and everything. And I really don't know if at this point Zebo would fit in very well. Really, actually, I don't. I don't think Zebo would fit in very well with what we're trying to do, because really, I don't know what the number is, but I feel like you get the ball into Zebo, and that's where the ball is staying. The ball is staying with Zebo, and everyone can kind of converge on that, and then your possession is basically just dead outside of Zebo. And granted, he could score a lot of times, but it's also hard. It's kind of like being a fielder in baseball when you have a pitcher who he's more of a strikeout or walk pitcher. Those are the two things. So when the ball is hit to you, you're not as on your toes. Whereas if it's like a ground ball pitcher, then you always, and you're an infielder, you always have to be ready. So like ball goes to Zebo, it's not coming out. So when it does, your whole offense is kind of thrown out of whack. But he could probably help with some rebounding, but I would like to think there's someone else out there, like you mentioned, who's younger, who we could kind of develop and work them into our system. Whereas Zebo's Zebo, and he does Zebo things, which he's done for 20 years. So you're not necessarily going to change the way that he operates based on what the team is doing at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, let me be clear though. I don't want to sign a bum over Zebo. Like, this is all predicated on the idea there might be someone out there that you could reasonably develop. But I mean,
not Joakim Noah. That's not.
No, hell no.
I don't. No. His name surfaced some. I'm not really about that.
No, I don't need his tennis playing ass in Memphis. All right, so Zebo on the bench is intriguing. He did well when he came off the bench. I don't know, 3 years ago, and yes, like when you throw the ball into him, it's going to stick there and he's going to shoot an elbow fadeaway jumper. But he does make that shot, and there were entire offensive sets premised on that when he was here. Like basically, I think it was like clear 4 or something was the call. That meant that everyone runs to the baseline, and then you feed Zebo and like just let him, take 12 seconds, jab step, and then make the shot like 50% of the time, which is pretty good percentage. With us, like maybe sometimes we get late in the shot clock and still haven't necessarily initiated our offensive action. Maybe that isn't such a bad shot, because we don't have anyone that we can give the ball to on the second unit in that situation, in that last 10 seconds that can get us a bucket. So, like I'd like to have Zebo over just some random bum, but I'd certainly like to get out there and maybe peruse the market and see if we can get a young player that fits the system and sort of the identity of the team.
Yeah, maybe there's someone they can pick up from a G League or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, someone that shoots threes is certainly more ideal. Just the way the league's going, as we often say. What are the things to follow this week? What are 4 things to watch?
4 things to watch.
Yeah.
So we have Memphis actually has, we've talked about how we haven't really played anyone. Well, we had the 29th strength of schedule so far. So, yeah, we really haven't played anyone. But this week we've got Golden State on Monday. So, obviously, the best team in the NBA. Then on Wednesday.
Second night of back-to-back, too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really going to be a bear.
No way they win the game.
I'm curious if we sit people or kind of what we do in that situation. Because Golden State, they're off today. They're not playing today. So they'll be I don't know if they played last night or Friday. I'm not sure. But they so they'll might be an opportunity for us to sit some guys. But then we come back to Memphis and have Denver comes to play us, and they're doing very well. So that's another, I think they're second in the West right now. So you got 1 and 2 in the same week, and then we finish the week off with the Sixers, who are doing pretty well over in the Eastern Conference. So this will really be a week to test us and see how we actually stack up against playoff teams. Because so far we've only played, outside of Sacramento, who's surprising people this far into the season. I mean, we will have played Phoenix a couple times. Indiana was a very poor showing, so we stunk against the best team that we've played so far, and then got a gutty win in Utah the first time, and then kind of like they were short their star the other day when we played them. So I think that we'll really get tested this week to kind of give us a good barometer to where our team actually stands. And then really a hot topic that we've kind of in our group chat talked about is Jaren Jackson going to be able to stay out of foul trouble? Because we mentioned the guy gets buckets. He's an impact on defense, but can he stay on the court is kind of the big question.
Yeah, I think as far as the upcoming games, I'd really like to see us win that Nuggets home game.
Yeah,
the Nuggets are the up and coming kind of young, smaller market, no superstar. They got Jokic, who's kind of a Marc Gasol-esque player. He's often compared to. The Nuggets are kind of like the Grizzlies in terms of where we were like 7 years ago. We were just starting to be on our rise, and we kind of played a little differently than everyone else. And all the the Zach Lowe's of the world were just jumping on our D. Now they've switched from our D to their D. But they, whatever.
They got the European center.
That must don't be loyal, The hoes don't be loyal, but. So, if we can beat them at home, it's a very winnable game, couple nights off. That would be a nice showing, I think, that, hey, we can win. We can beat those Western Conference playoff teams, and here we are. So that would be a huge win. I think that's the one I have my eye on the most. Obviously, 76ers would be a good win. Counting Warriors out, no way we win that game. Triple J, he is going to be fine. He is a rookie. He's getting a bunch of bullshit rookie calls, and I think as you've seen, as Chris Harrington has alluded to as well, most players that kind of start out that are going to be probably future superstars, like their foul rates consistently go down, both because they get smarter and also because the refs start to respect them and stop calling ticky-tack foul calls on them. So I think he'll be fine. I think it will impact this season, though, which sucks because I think he could really win Rookie of the Year, but he won't because he won't get the minutes.
Stay on the court.
Yeah, he can't be like Trae Young, get a usage rate of like 1 million or whatever. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I bet Trae Young doesn't get those foul calls against him.
No, because he's smaller. But I mean, and it's also a size thing too. Like I've noticed that the size discrepancy between two players, the foul's often called on the bigger guy, regardless of who initiated anything. Or like it's I guess it's a fast-paced game. It's tough. The refs have a lot to do, but it's the trends are weird. I don't understand why if you're a rookie you get calls that aren't. If it's a foul, it's a foul. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I don't understand why it has to be that way. Or
like you have to earn your respect. Like it's this whole like thing where you have to get to know the refs and remember them and talk to them on the road and like just get to know them all and kind of like become buddies with them. But that seems kind of unethical just in general. Like, but whatever. Yeah, I'm not I'm not David Stern. I'm not Adam Silver. So although I might be in like 20 years, I don't know. Who knows? I could be an NBA commissioner.
Well, that's none of my business.
Yeah, Kermit drinking tea.
Kermit drinking the tea.
But I don't know. I think he'll be fine. It's frustrating this season though.
So the next question: will the Grizzlies role players stay hot? So kind of meaning the Shelvin Max, the Garrett Temples, the Kyle Andersons. Are those guys? Are they here to stay at that level, or are they going to just kind of – are we just getting the best of the best right now, and then they're going to fall off the map?
Yeah, I think Kyle Anderson's going to stay. I don't know if he's hot or like whatever. I don't know what you call Kyle Anderson, but like I think that's what he does. So, yeah, I think he keeps doing what he's doing. Garrett Temple's not going to shoot 50% from three for the season. So, no, he won't stay as hot, but he takes good shots. Like he takes really open threes in rhythm for the most part. So he's going to shoot. I think he shoots 40%. I think he has a good 3-point percentage on consistent attempts. Mac has shot really well from three, like in crazy late shot clock situations. He's become like the late shot clock, like hero ball guy, like huge buckets. Like in the third quarter, he hits like a three when we're on our heels, and it gets everyone back into it. It's been surprising, honestly. So I've never watched much of Shelvin Mack in my life. So
we got these guys. We brought these guys in that played for like outside of Anderson, who played for San Antonio. So Mack was at Orlando. Temple was in Sacramento.
Like his leader in Orlando.
So I've heard.
Yeah, never forget. Poundside, never forget.
Never forget. Yeah. 2018.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of those guys that you really don't know. So good on Chris Wallace and co for kind of being proactive, and I won't say that much. So you guys better note that I said that today.
Yeah. We're not always hating here at the barn. Sometimes we're all love.
I can appreciate it,
Yeah, sure. Mac, good signing.
Yeah, that's good that they're earning their millions of dollars. I'm not mad about that.
No, they should.
But yeah, I think Anderson's kind of even with his defense and stuff, he started off a little slow, probably trying to figure out the system and everything, but he really seems to have found his stride there. And he has pretty much now the past few games been performing at what we expect for him to perform at. And for an $8 million player, people might be upset that he's not scoring more, but you got to have these guys, even like Golden State. That if you look at how their scoring set up, they have Steph's averaging over 30, Durant's in the 20s, Clay's about 20, and then the next person is 8, and then everyone else is averaging like 4 points a game. So it is super top heavy over there. So it's not like outrageous that we have 3 guys who are leading us, and even Max. So we're kind of a little less top heavy than someone like Golden State. Obviously, our ceiling is not as high as far as scoring goes, but that's just how we're set up. But then Temple's he's playing ridiculous. He's just shooting and playing a lot more than he normally does. He's playing over 30 minutes a game, and the most he's ever played before is 26. So he's gonna. I'd have to assume at 32 years old he's gonna fatigue at some point in the near future. So he's gonna he'll have to regress to the mean a little bit, and then that'll be a chance for someone else to step up. Hopefully we have JaMychal Green back around that time, and he can maybe pick up some slack. He doesn't always seem to do that in the past. Necessarily been a plus, but then Jackson hopefully will figure it out and make up for some of those points that Temple is not getting at that point in time. But the thing I like about Temple the most is that his presence on the court, he's always involved and he's very vocal and just seems like a really good presence out there.
Usually guards
the team,
the best player on the other team.
Yeah,
he usually D's up the star point guard shooting anyone from a 1 to a 3. That's we've seen that's usually the stars in the league or those positions. He D's them up. So
and you can be good at defense and score.
Okay, G-Tip.
New stuff.
Yeah, hot girlfriend for G-Tip too. He was a Latin.
Really?
He has Jasmine. Might be his wife. I don't know. Haven't done the research. Yeah, she's very attractive. So shouts to G-Tip, man.
Yeah, he's a stud, dude. He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, good-looking guy. LSU guy. Sorry, the Tigers are going to have to – Memphis Tigers are going to have to go in there and beat LSU on the road here in a month. So we'll have to apologize Temple to that.
Is that
actually like 2 weeks?
Is that a neutral site game or is that
– It's at LSU in their ranked.
LSU?
Yeah, second game of the season. Yeah, big game. All right, this Memphis defense is currently 4th in the league. It's a different sort of defense that we've seen, but still, predominantly predicated on the Mike Mark, particularly Marc Gasol being the quarterback of this defense. And let me tell you, Marc Gasol having just a renaissance season, man.
Oh man,
this guy, let me just, if I may, thank you. In The Dark Knight Rises, through the midway point of the film, Batman his back is broken by the villain Bane. He's left to die in a prison, and he rises out of the pit of the prison. He does a bunch of push-ups and sit-ups and somehow heals his back. But let's not get into the medical.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Yeah, and so he comes out and beats Bane, figures him out, like somehow like champions over death, and ends up being a better Batman than he'd ever been. Marc Gasol in this hypothetical is Batman. He's Christian Bale because he last season I think had his back broken. I think last season he was sad. He didn't play with intelligent defenders. We had a weird team. We weren't trying to win, which no player likes that. Yeah. So I think it was a tough season for Marc Gasol, but he seems what we're often seeing is reinvigorated, re-energized by this youthful squad, and intelligent squad. So he's back and he's playing better defense than maybe he ever has. Technically, he's playing better defense than he did his Defensive Player of the Year season. And a large portion of that is because smartly, JB has Mark sagging on most pick and rolls. He's not hedging as much, so he's not getting out and defending the guard around the screen as for those that don't know what the hedging or sagging does. Instead, he kind of stays back in the paint and prevents the easy layup. But that allows him to not move around as much. He's not having to shuffle around, like it's saving his steps to be more meaningful. So that's kind of an important little tweak that I think they made. And you can read more about that on Peter Edmondson's piece at The Athletic. So that's been an important tweak. And he's just been talking. He's been getting steals too. Like he's been reading passes. He's been cutting off all passing lanes anytime a guard gets in the paint. So it's been great to watch. And it's awesome to see him doing what he does best, which is quarterbacking a defense. So if Mark stays healthy, if this team stays healthy, yes, I think they continue to be one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. It seems like it's more of a team effort than just Mark having to go out there and do it by himself, because he can really have a lot of body language. You can really tell if he's into it or if he's not into it. And most of last year he was not into it. Once Mike wasn't out there, it was pretty hopeless. But on both ends of the floor, he's just like, he's super amped.
Yeah.
Which really, what gets you more excited than a 7-foot guy just doing like finger guns and stuff? Drilling a three.
Yeah, when he wet that three and he like does the boom. Yeah, he does the boom. It was awesome. Like, and you could tell he didn't plan to do that. It's completely off the cuff. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome, and clearly he's feeling himself again, which bodes well for us.
Yeah, and I so far, I mean, I think JB's done a really good job of using the pieces that he has, and they really did a good job so far, from what I can tell, of bringing in guys from the offseason like Anderson and Temple, two really, really strong defensive players. And, we kind of craft on grit and grind or like being defensive minded early in the season or preseason. But I'm curious, check back this time next week and see how we did against these three teams. And then we'll really kind of understand if that is something, if that's a way that you can win basketball games in the NBA with this roster.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big test this week. We'll see what happens.
Yep, I'm excited about it. So everyone go to our website, the-barnburner.com. We've got articles up there. We got previews, Grizzlies Hall of Fame folks, Memphis Tiger basketball coverage, UT Vols basketball. If it's hoops related, we've got it. Go check us out on Twitter, _barnburner. Find good content there throughout the games, throughout the week. Good GIFs or GIFs. The Chief is all about those now. So quality content over there. So check us out. And everyone have a good week and go Grizz.
Go Grizz.